events of WandaVision change the future of the MCU?
Well, that is certainly a good question that Todd just asked there. How will the events of WandaVision change the future of the MCU? What's up, everybody? I'm Steven, that was Todd, and we are the Hills Maniacs. And today I'm going to be answering that very question as I sort of look into what the future of the MCU is going to be based off of the Disney Plus show like WandaVision and Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But today we're going to be exclusively talking about WandaVision and kind of giving my theories on what I think will happen, how it's going to affect the movies going forward, because there's going to be some trippy stuff going on in this series. If you saw the trailer for it and everything else, like Wanda's kind of going crazy. It's got some TV shows sort of jumping around, things like that, like sitcoms and everything else. It looks really weird and kind of fun I can't wait to see it, kind of, just because it's connected to the MCU. And I personally was wondering what is going to happen going forward. I'm sure all of you are as well. So this is my theory on what will be happening after the events of WandaVision take place. So let's get started. First up, I think that Wanda is going to inadvertently cause the creation and combination of several different universes into one multiverse, which is basically what Doctor Strange 2 is going to pick up with, because they said it is connected to the WandaVision show. My guess is that Wanda is going to kind of be like the villain of the movie, sort of. Like, she's not going to try to be, but like Strange is going to try and fix everything, and she's going to be like, well, no, I want things this way so I can have vision, I can have this life that I've made for myself. And this is going to bring together all the different timelines and universes, everything else, into the multiverse. And this will likely be how they sort of bring in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and the different villains that come with them as well, because if they've always existed just on a different Earth, in a different universe, a different timeline, then what a better way to actually bring them into this connection, into this universe, than through some, meddling of the different universes and stuff, which is, would explain like where the X-Men were and the Fantastic Four were all this time, like during the battle with Thanos and everything else. They weren't here for it because they were in a different timeline, a different universe. I originally thought for that it was going to be like the X-Men were created from getting like the mutant gene from from coming back from Thanos' snap. It was going to change people or whatever, but I'm starting to think that this is how they're going to go about it, which kind of makes more sense story-wise, because, they'll still have existed, just in a different place, a different universe, different timeline, and now they can exist with our Avengers we know now, and that will definitely change the future of the MCU, because we'll have the Fantastic Four, we'll have mutants existing now, and they'll have to kind of coexist with the Avengers, and we might get even the Avengers versus X-Men, like they did in the comic books, sort of thing. You just never know what they can do with these different multiverses, but that's one thing I think is definitely going to happen from this show. Like, by the end of, I don't know if it's going to be a one-season series or if it's going to be several seasons leading up to the second Doctor Strange movie, but I definitely think by the end of this series, this is one thing that's definitely going to happen. There's going to be the different universes and things like that, and probably the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and maybe some other heroes we haven't yet seen, that everyone's wanted to see sort of on the big screen in the MCU might come through this as well. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Next up, I think some characters that were from the past, like that we've seen in the MCU that were either killed or like we never really saw again, or they kind of disappeared or vanished somewhere, went off into space somewhere or whatever, and we just never saw them again. I think as Wanda struggles to contain this new world she's creating, I think several other either characters or villains from the past will be resurrected, which is obviously going to cause a lot more chaos and everything. And just like I said earlier, like with the Fantastic Four and X-Men, we'll be introduced to new villains. Well, these will be villains from the past, like maybe another version of Thanos will come through, maybe not even having the Infinity Stones, or we'll see Ultron again, or just any other major, like Loki might be back. I have a theory about that as well, that all the Disney Plus MCU shows are going to be connected to each other, just like the movies are. So maybe that will exist within Wanda's universe as well. The Loki TV series and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. But I think that's going to, bringing back some old villains and stuff is going to cause a lot of problems, because now they're going to defeat them again, and it might be different versions of these villains, so they might be even more powerful or devastating, because they're from a different timeline maybe where they beat the Avengers, or they're from a universe where the Avengers don't exist, so they have like different abilities or things like that the Avengers don't know how to contend with because they've never fought them. Could be X-Men villains like Apocalypse or something. Just that's going to cause a lot of destruction and chaos throughout the MCU, and it's going to change it completely. Just bringing back these old characters again, but it would be cool to see these characters again, because then they could live on in the MCU. If they died too early, in our opinion, can come back and live even longer in the MCU. Now, on that note, on a related note, I think some characters will be given new looks, like they're completely look different, or multiple versions of that same character will exist together in the same universe. For example, like Spider-Man. It's being rumored, I guess, that there's probably going to be a sort of live action, like Into the Spider-Verse film with like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man joining forces with Tom Holland's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and even Miles Morales, but it's like the live action, like MCU version of this, because Doctor Strange, I guess, has been confirmed for an appearance in the third Spider-Man movie, which we don't know the title of yet, but it's going to have home in it, I'm sure. But what if all of this that Wanda creates ends up changing the way some of the characters that we know look, or brings in whole new versions of that character while the other ones fade from existence? This will allow Marvel to continue using some of the characters, but have different actors playing them, which could benefit them in the long run. They can still have this character, but now it's like, oh, we don't really know anything about this character now because it's a different version of him, played by somebody different. They can go 8 more movies because they're it's a new person with a new contract in Marvel. Like, if you think about it, outside of the actual movie world, because these are just actors playing characters, but they have to, eventually their contracts end and that they have to be killed off or whatever. So having new actors to play these new versions of these characters, that would add a uniqueness to it as well, because we're used to seeing, like, let's say Iron Man is brought back, or Tony Stark, but it's somebody different playing him. Like, we're used to seeing Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and now we're going to see somebody else, and it's kind of fresh, but it's also the original character that we love, brought back in a unique way, and we get to see them live on in the MCU and continue their story in the MCU as well in a different way. And finally, I think that everything that happens in WandaVision is actually going to be permanent. I think that even Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers, like, whatever happens, they won't be able to fix it either in Doctor Strange 2 or in WandaVision. Like, if Doctor Strange is the one combating all this, trying to bring all this back together, I don't think they're going to be able to fix it. I think the MCU would benefit from this if it had long-lasting effects on the rest of the MCU going forward. Like, I think we would just now, everything we know would just exist in this multiverse with the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, all the different Spider-Mans, Venom, Deadpool, probably all coexisting together. This would be the biggest movie crossover ever. They said Endgame was because it had all these different moving parts, but it's like, now you have all these different characters from different franchises, like the X-Men franchise now, and the Fantastic Four never really got off the ground that well, but this version, maybe it'll be the best one yet. I think that it would definitely be unique and stand out. Like, Now everything we're used to is just thrown out the window because we got all this new stuff, and existing in the multiverse would allow them to tell unique stories, or with new characters, with the old characters, whatever. They would have all that to work with now, and I think that would, like I said, I think that would benefit them, and it would make it unique, and I'd certainly want to see that. I don't know about you guys, but if it was just like, we never go back to how it was, after the battle of Thanos, everything else, everything's just completely changed, for the better or for worse. There's going to be new villains, everything else, and I would like to see that, and that can just help them continue on with the MCU for years and years to come, with different stories, different characters from the comics, everything else, all coming together into one universe to just beat out every other superhero franchise out there. So there you go, guys. That was what I think will happen after the events of WandaVision play out, and how that will affect the future of the MCU. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What do you want to see happen what do you want to see come from WandaVision or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Do you want to see all this play out and things change forever, and we never go back to how things were, like I said? Do you want to see past characters brought back, and who would you like to see? Let me know all that down in the comment section below, and stay tuned to this channel, because coming up on starting October 25th, we're going to be doing a whole week of Halloween related videos, so stay tuned for that if you're a fan of those types of things. We'll be talking about Halloween movies, and doing some video game stuff and TV shows, things like that, some trivia here and there. But yeah, if you're, like I said, if you're a fan of that, stay tuned to that, and please like and subscribe for more of this content, and take care, everybody.